I transmigrated into a rich second-generation deadweight on a survival show, and right from the start I was despised by the iceberg goddess instructor. She wants me to follow orders? No way. Right in front of her, I picked a cleaver and an iron pot, and even threatened to throw her flint into the sea. She was forced to climb a tree to pick coconuts, and the moment she came down and saw my knife skills, she completely broke down. This isn't the same useless trash we were promised. I groggily opened my eyes, my head aching as if someone had smashed it with a hammer. In front of me were vast waves, one after another crashing at my feet. The sunlight was so dazzling it made my eyes ache. A woman with heroic features and a perfect figure was glaring at me furiously, still ranting nonstop. Tang Ming, you're a bastard. We're really not right for each other. It's useless even if you chased me all the way here. I froze for 2 seconds. What's going on? My last memory was standing on the award stage at the World Culinary Competition, where I had just won the title of God of Cookery. During my acceptance speech, I casually made a joke, saying that the only thing that could hinder my cooking skills was the ingredients, and that it would be great if I could personally go into the wild to find the most natural ingredients. Then everything went black, and when I woke up, I was on this beach. I transmigrated. Before I even had time to be shocked, several cold mechanical voices began popping up in my head one after another. Host's wish fulfilled. The God of Cookery system is now officially activated. This system is the God of Cookery system. For specific functions, please browse the system interface yourself, host. I was completely dumbfounded. I can accept transmigration, and I can also accept having a system. But what does wish fulfilled mean? Could it be that the system took that joke I made on the award stage as a wish? Before I could sort out my thoughts, a flood of unfamiliar memories surged into my mind. It turned out the owner of this body was also named Tang Ming, a textbook-rich second-generation wastrel. He had done almost nothing proper in his life, but he had pursued the icy beauty in front of me, Shu Yiting, for a full 5 years. Shu Yiting is a special forces instructor, a wilderness survival expert, and a senior nutritionist. She has the figure, and she has the ability. This time, she was representing the country in the globally co-hosted Extreme Survival Challenge. The competition lasts for 1 year, with teams of 2 surviving on a deserted island on their own. The live broadcast faces the entire world, with absolutely no outside support throughout. The idiot original host thought it was a heaven-sent opportunity, so he spent a huge amount of resources forcing his way onto the list, and even got himself paired with Shu Yiting. But right after getting off the boat, he slipped, hit his head on the bow, and fell into the sea. When he woke up again, I had taken his place. Tang Ming, are you even listening to what I'm saying? Shu Yiting's voice jumped an octave, pulling me back to reality. She took a deep breath, as if trying to endure something hard to say. While the boat that brought us here hasn't left yet, you still have time to go back now. If you stay on this island, you'll really have to rely on yourself to survive for a year. Even if you starve to death or die of illness, no one will come save you. The moment I heard that, only one thought remained in my head. Go back? Not a chance. I finally got a system, and on top of that, a treasury of all natural ingredients like this island. And you want me to go back? What a joke. Enough already. Aren't you annoying? What does my joining the challenge have to do with you? Just mind yourself, okay? Shu Yiting's expression looked like she'd been slapped across the face, and she stood there stunned for several seconds before gritting her teeth and squeezing out a sentence. Fine. I'd like to see what exactly you'll use to take on the challenge. At that moment, a staff member from the distant boat walked over. Behind him followed 2 automatic drones, flashing blue lights as they slowly rose into the air. You too, the challenge officially begins in 10 minutes. We are now starting the global live broadcast. Please make your final preparations. Each person may choose 2 survival tools. I glanced at the drones hovering beside me, then at the equipment cart the staff member had pushed over. Knives, axes, steel pots, flint, tent cloth, all kinds of wilderness survival gear were laid out neatly. Shu Yiting had obviously done her homework, and immediately turned to me and warned in a low voice. The survival period is 1 year, so choosing tools is the top priority. Before coming, I studied all the survival gear. Since you insist on staying, listen to my instructions. I don't expect you to help me, but don't drag me down either. Later, whatever I tell you to choose, that's what you choose. Before she even finished speaking, I had already strode over, casually grabbed 2 items, then turned to the staff member and said, I've made my choice, just these 2. Shu Yiting's gaze fell on the things in my hands, and her face instantly darkened. In my left hand, I carried a broad, heavy cleaver, and on my right shoulder, I hefted a big iron pot shaped like a turtle shell. There were clearly sharp, lightweight jungle machetes on the equipment cart, and portable steel pots with lids, but I acted as if I hadn't seen them. Tangming, are you crazy? Do you think this is a restaurant kitchen? Are you here for a picnic? I ignored her, and instead seemed to remember something. Then turned back and flashed her a grin. Oh right, you'd better pick another flint. I'm short on time, and don't have time to keep you company while you rub sticks together to make fire. As for the other item, it's up to you, but I'd suggest something like a spatula. Or don't blame me later if I won't swap tools with you. After saying that, I jumped off the boat and ran, not even looking back. Behind me, I could vaguely hear Shu Yiting cursing, but I treated it as just beach background noise. I found a shady spot under a tree and sat down, then quickly summoned the system panel. A golden mission prompt was flashing prominently on the interface. System mission, daily temptation. As the host of the God of Cooking system, you must not slack off on any meal in any environment. Please complete one simple dish within 2 hours. 2 hours, make one dish. I looked around at the surroundings. Dense coconut trees towered into the clouds, and the sea breeze howled. Nature's ingredients were certainly not lacking, but the problem was, how was I supposed to get them? I walked to the base of a coconut tree and looked up. It had to be at least 20 meters tall, straight as a utility pole. I circled the trunk several times, with all kinds of plans flashing through my mind. Throw rocks? The big ones wouldn't reach, and the small ones were useless. Poke it with branches? The branches around here were all limp and floppy. Even if I tied them together, they'd fall apart before reaching the coconuts. Climb the tree? I really had never trained that skill before. Just as I was worrying, a mocking, sarcastic voice came from behind me. So this is the basis for your arrogance? At some point, Shu Yiting had appeared behind me, arms crossed, her face full of disdain. I didn't turn around and kept studying the trunk. You can't even handle a coconut, and I really don't know where you got the nerve to come take part in a survival challenge. As if you can do it. I glanced at her. If you've got what it takes, climb up there and pick 2 for me to see. Why should I pick them for you to see? If you can't do it, then you can't do it. It's not like I'd laugh at you. I shrugged and deliberately dragged out my tone. Something a man like me can't pick. It's perfectly normal for a woman like you not to be able to pick either. Shu Yiting's face instantly flushed red, and she shoved me aside. I'll show you today who's useless. With a couple of quick motions, she rolled up her pant legs and, like a nimble leopard, rapidly climbed up the trunk using both hands and feet. Before long, she had reached the top of the tree and cast a contemptuous look down from above. Now do you know who's the useless one? I narrowed my eyes with a smile and shouted at the top of my lungs. So what if you can climb a tree? If you've got the ability, pick a few and throw them down. Huh, don't think I don't know what you're up to. Trying to provoke me into coming up here to pick coconuts for you? Dream on. Even though my little scheme had been exposed on the spot, I wasn't flustered at all. I strolled over slowly and picked up the tool bag she had thrown on the ground. I opened it and smiled. Besides her own gear, it really did have the 2 things I had just specifically asked for, a flint and a spatula. See, you're actually pretty obedient. You brought over everything I asked for nice and obediently. I held up the flint and waved it. How about being obedient one more time and helping me pick some coconuts? Shu Yiting let out a scornful laugh from the tree, completely unconcerned. You want me to listen to you? Dream on. If you've got the guts, take my stuff away. When I get down there, just see how I'll deal with you. The smile on my face didn't change, and my tone stayed light and airy. Oh, is that so? Then let me do the math for you. This tree is about 20 meters tall. No matter what, it'll take you 20 seconds to get down. No matter how useless I am, I can get to the beach in just over 10 seconds. Adding the time to throw things, at most 15 seconds. If the entrenching shovel gets tossed into the sea, you might still be able to find it if you search. But the flint is so small. If I toss it into the sea, you can feel around for it nice and slow. The mockery on Shu Yiting's face instantly froze. You wouldn't dare? You can't survive without fire, and you definitely can't survive without food. Either way, you won't survive, so do you think I dare or not? You're shameless. Call me whatever you want. I gave you the chance. I'm counting down from 3, 2, 1 now. If you still don't pick them, I'm really going to run. I was determined to take shamelessness to the extreme, turning around and striking a sprinting pose. Stop right there. You bastard, just wait till I get down there and see how I deal with you. Shu Yiting was trembling with rage. She reached out and grabbed the coconuts beside her, wrenching them down hard. One after another, coconuts crashed down from 20 meters up, landing on the beach with dull thuds. That's more like it. Oh, and stop threatening me all the time. I don't have many strengths, but I really am especially shameless. When you come down later, you'd better not provoke me. If I'm in a bad mood, I love throwing things around. Not just yours, even my own stuff. When that happens, no one should expect to find anything. I plopped down on the sand and happily started counting the coconuts. 1, 2, 3. There were quite a few coconuts on the tree, and she worked fast too, rattling off 7 or 8 of them. Keep going, there are still so many. Seeing that there was no more movement, I looked up and urged her on, dissatisfied. Shu Yiting gritted her teeth, her voice full of killing intent. Don't push it too far. Coconuts are currently the most precious source of water and food. They absolutely can't be wasted. But this is only a few, not enough for me to eat. You eat too, and 1 is enough for me. The moment I heard that, I laughed. Who said any of these 3 are your share? They're not even enough for me to eat alone. Keep picking. Otherwise I'm really going to run. Bastard. Instead of wasting energy cursing at me, you'd be better off picking a few more. Since you've already climbed up there, if you don't pick them all in one go, wouldn't that stamina be wasted? And you said you'd teach me, yet you don't even understand this bit of common sense. Honestly, I put on a lecturing posture, making Shu Yiting so mad that she took all her anger out on the coconuts, smashing them down like crazy. Damn, are you trying to murder your husband? I hopped around to dodge the falling coconuts, which smashed a row of deep pits by my feet. As soon as the last coconut hit the ground, I immediately rushed over to gather the spoils. I had just picked up 2 when a gust of force came at me from behind. Without even turning my head, I drew the kitchen knife with a backhand motion, then turned and flashed a toothy grin at the charging Shu Yiting. The gleaming blade flashed in the sunlight, making her instinctively take half a step back. What are you trying to do? I could tell she wasn't afraid I'd slash her, but rather that she was afraid someone like me, who never plays by the rules, might accidentally hurt myself. I casually flourished the knife and smiled with an innocent face. I get the feeling you want to hit me. How is that possible? Do I look like such a violent person? Put down what's in your hand first, and let's talk properly. Good if not. Then I don't suppose you have any objection to me eating a few coconuts now, right? It was phrased as a question, but my hands didn't stop moving for a second. With a crack, 1 slash came down directly onto a coconut. I picked it up and tilted my head back to chug it down. The sweet coconut water poured into my mouth in a rush, while also splashing all over my face and neck. Shu Yiting's face instantly darkened. Bastard, you're wasting food. After finishing 1 coconut, I shook the empty shell and let my gaze drift toward the ones that were left. A fragrant breeze hit me as Shu Yiting stepped in front of me to block my way. You're not allowed to ruin food anymore. How am I ruining it? Is that any way to drink a coconut? Look at how much you spilled. If there isn't any fresh water on this island, these will be our life-saving reserves. Then how should I drink it? Give me the knife, I'll show you how to open it. She probably realized the hard approach wouldn't work, so she softened her tone. I refused outright. Give it to you? If I give it to you, will I ever get it back? Then if you've got the skill, don't waste any. If I don't waste any, then I can eat them however I want? Right. As long as you can handle that. Halfway through speaking, she noticed the curve lifting at the corner of my mouth and immediately added warily. What I mean by not wasting any is that not a single drop can spill. As long as you can do that, these coconuts are yours to mess with. If you can't, you'll have to listen to me from now on. I was already overjoyed inside, but on the surface I put on a reluctant look. That's too much of a loss for me. If I can't do it, I'll listen to you, and if I can, I only get to eat some coconuts? That's not worth it. If you can do it, I'll listen to you. That was exactly what I'd been waiting for, so I immediately pressed on. Listen to me? Anything. Unconditional obedience? Only 1 thing, and it can't be an excessive demand. 3 things, take it or leave it. Shu Yiting clenched her fists and practically ground out a single word through her teeth. Deal. I knew she must have thought victory was already in her grasp and wanted to use this bet to completely take control of the situation. She took 2 steps back, folded her arms across her chest, and struck a pose as if waiting to watch my performance. I leisurely picked up a coconut and weighed it in my hand. The cleaver spun in my grip, and the moment the blade flashed down, the movement flowed like water. With the first cut, I only shaved off a thin layer of green husk. Shu Yiting couldn't help speaking up from the side. It's best to use more force when opening a coconut, or you won't chop it open. I glanced at her without saying a word. The second and third cuts fell one after another, faster and faster. The green outer skin fell away like snowflakes, and the originally round coconut gradually turned into a neat hexagonal diamond shape in my hands. Shu Yiting's brows drew together slightly, vaguely sensing that something was off. I set the trimmed coconut on the sand, aimed at the center, and cut into the seam with 1 stroke, then pressed both hands against the back of the blade, and slowly pushed down. Crack! A crisp splitting sound rang out. I held the coconut in both hands and rotated it at a steady pace like opening a safe. 1 turn, 2 turns, feeling the shell take the pressure evenly in my palms. At a certain moment, the movement came to an abrupt stop. I cradled the coconut in my palm and gave Shu Yiting a slight smile, putting on airs. If you've got the ability, then open it. She refused to admit defeat with her words, but her eyes stayed fixed on my hands. I placed my palm on top of the coconut and gave it a gentle twist. The entire hemispherical shell came off intact, as if by magic. It revealed the white, tender coconut flesh inside, like jelly, completely unharmed. Even the thin membrane on the surface didn't have the slightest tear. The whole flesh jiggled duang-duang, glistening crystal bright in the sunlight. Shu Yiting's eyes widened instantly, and her pupils contracted sharply. I casually pulled a wild grass stalk from the side, pinched off both ends, and with a pop, stuck it into the flesh. With one slurp, the flesh visibly shrank at a speed the naked eye could see. Finally, I tore off a piece of soft, smooth coconut flesh and tossed it into my mouth, chewing with complete satisfaction. I didn't waste any, did I? Shu Yiting stared fixedly at the coconut in my hand, her throat bobbing unconsciously. After a long moment, she finally squeezed out a few words through clenched teeth. No, a bet is a bet. If you want me to do something, say it quickly. She may be proud, but she's definitely not the type who can't accept losing. It's just that, judging by her expression, it was obvious she had already thought up 100 ways to nitpick and make things difficult, yet my move had completely left her speechless. See, I gave you the chance. It's your own fault for not being up to it. I smiled and looked her up and down. She instinctively shrank back, her voice carrying a warning. I'm telling you, don't get any crooked ideas. I said the request can't be excessive. As if anyone cares about you. I curled my lip, turned around with a look of disdain, and picked up another coconut to keep opening. Shu Yiting stood behind me for a few seconds, then ultimately chose to walk to another coconut tree not far away, sit down with her back to me, and sulk alone. I opened 2 more coconuts, drank one myself, and held the last one in my hand. When I walked up to her, the duang-duang wobbling flesh almost bumped into her face. Want one? I got too many. I can't finish them all. Shu Yiting looked at the coconuts scattered all over the ground with heartache, her eyes almost turning red. Are you going to eat it or not? If not, I'll throw it away. You dare. She snatched the coconut away in one grab and held it tightly in her arms protectively. I went with the flow and plopped down on the sand beside her, leaning against the coconut tree and stretching my legs way out. The sea breeze, carrying a faint salty scent mixed with coconut fragrance, blew over, along with the subtle fragrance coming from her. I half closed my eyes and took a deep breath. It wasn't easy to finally get out for a vacation. Feeling the sea breeze and drinking some coconut juice, how pleasant. Shu Yiting suddenly turned and glared at me. You think we came out here for a vacation? Do you know what this challenge represents? Do you know how many eyes are on us? Do you know? All right, no need to keep stressing that stuff to me. I cut her off. Say something practical. The competition rules. How are the rankings determined? Also, how do you use this thing? As he spoke, Tang Ming raised his hand slightly. On his wrist was a dark blue device, like a watch, that the organizers had given them earlier when they were choosing items. Tang Ming's question made Shu Yiting unable to resist glaring at him again. Tell me, who approved your entry review? Even someone who hasn't studied this basic knowledge can compete? When we get back, I'll definitely let him know why flowers are. My mom approved it. What do you want her to know? Tang Ming narrowed his eyes and cut her off. Aunt Wu. Shu Yiting's words came to an abrupt halt. Feeling guilty, she glanced at the drone hovering overhead, and the image of a decisive, formidable career woman flashed through her mind. Her beautiful eyes flickered a few times, and she forced a dry laugh. What I mean is, that person must be as beautiful as a flower. You sure know how to talk. Tang Ming also deliberately or unintentionally glanced at the drone, crossed his legs, and leaned back a little farther, signaling for Shu Yiting to continue. The latter shot Tang Ming a covert glare and said, "The watch is a drone controller. If something involving personal privacy comes up during the live stream, like bathing or the like, you can use this controller to temporarily make the drone rise higher. And you can also bring it closer when a close-up is needed. At the same time, the watch is equipped with a nano-physical condition detector that can monitor your physical condition at any time. The competition results are calculated based on 2 items: live stream viewership and changes in physical condition. Viewership accounts for 30% and physical condition accounts for 70%. Specifically, the number of viewers depends on how attractive our live stream is. Finding good food, impressive survival skills, and exploring unknown areas can all attract people to watch. Conversely, someone like you, clutching a coconut and just muddling along waiting to die. Even if others glance at you a couple more times, they'll lose interest soon enough. Hey, 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 I asked you to explain, not make personal attacks. Also, if it's based on viewership, wouldn't countries with larger populations have more of an advantage? Do you think no one would have thought of such a simple issue? So each country's viewing statistics aren't calculated simply by headcount, but by percentage. And viewers must use real name authentication, plus iris locking. That basically eliminates the problem of bots inflating view counts and committing fraud. There are also minor bonus categories like watch time and tipping, but I won't go through them one by one. Then there's physical condition. Since this is a survival show, your survival status naturally carries the most weight. How well you're surviving is reflected most directly by your body's response. In other words, say I weigh 100 gene now, and by the end of the survival challenge, I've gone up to 120 gene. Would that earn me points? Tang Ming couldn't help asking. In your dreams, gaining 20 gene? In this kind of wilderness survival, being able to maintain the condition you were in when you arrived would already be considered a miracle. Like me, before coming, I also spent a full 6 months building up my physical reserves to deal with possible problems like food shortages. So what we're competing over is who can stay the steadiest. Of course, you're the exception. She glanced at Tang Ming's seemingly frail build, and Xu Yiting's face was full of mockery. No wonder you look like you've put on quite a bit of weight. Who are you calling fat? Xu Yiting's beautiful eyes widened. So you all stuffed yourselves before coming. And I'm the only one who boarded the ship on an empty stomach. Serves you right. Who told you to be a tag-along? Heh, I really don't know whether you people are smart or stupid. Since you know the competition rule is to put on weight, every one of you still came all plump and well-fed, with no room for development at all. Look at this figure of mine, a standard negative starting point, okay? So you get it. It was as if Tang Ming had discovered a new continent, and he kept waggling his eyebrows at Xu Yiting. Get what? Raise me. Fatten me up nice and plump, and wouldn't that make it easy to win? Never have I seen such a brazenly shameless person. Such a refreshingly bizarre way of thinking, truly worthy of being a national-level scumbag. But you had to admit, what he said did make a bit of sense. I understand the logic, but raise your ass. Such shameless remarks caused the live stream chat to explode, and even Xu Yiting couldn't help cursing out loud. Who doesn't know that weaker people tend to gain weight more easily? But the premise is surviving. Do you understand? All right, don't get worked up. If you won't raise me, then forget it. I knew you were unreliable. Worst case, I'll figure something out myself. Figure out my ass. If you can come up with a way, I'll take your surname. Oh, please. Taking my surname would just mean you want me to raise you, right? You're not much to look at, but you sure dream big. After saying that, Tang Ming suddenly sensed the intense chill coming from beside him and couldn't help shivering. He quickly rolled away. Tang Ming, you're such a bastard. As expected, a roar came from behind him. Tang Ming curled his lips into a smile, picked up the coconut that had been wasted earlier, split it in half in a couple of strokes, and used a shell to dig out the flesh inside. At the same time, his attention was also on the panel that had been summoned out. System task, daily poisoning, complete one simple food item within 2 hours. Status, completed. Reward, 1 beginner gift pack. Task settlement, mild poisoning, 3,500 people. Converted into 35 gourmet points. Gourmet points can be exchanged for items in the system shop. After those 2 prompts, there was also a task progress review. Tang Ming tapped it open and gained a basic understanding of how the system worked. For example, food, simple, crude things to eat, would not be recognized by the system. In other words, if it can't arouse other people's appetite, it can't be called food. Like this casually split open coconut in his hand. It was too ordinary and too casual, and didn't arouse the audience's appetite. So there was no prompt that the task had been completed at the time. But the pearl coconut that was opened without damage afterward aroused the appetite of 3,500 viewers, which is why the task was completed successfully. For this kind of daily task, the most basic completion requirement is 1,000 people poisoned. So, for him to obtain more gourmet points, there were 2 things he needed: food attractive enough and more viewers. In other words, how much value the system itself could develop was also closely related to the competition. The more viewers there were, the greater his chances of obtaining gourmet points. As for the use of gourmet points, this was where the real surprise lay. It could be said that it completely opened the door to a new world for Tang Ming. Just look at the items in the system shop and you'll know. Beginner hunting, price, 1,000 gourmet points. Beginner diving, Price, 1,000 gourmet points. Beginner climbing. Price, 1,000 gourmet points. Beginner carpentry. Price, 3,000 gourmet points. Beginner invisibility. Price, 30,000 gourmet points. From low to high, everything from everyday to supernatural was available. But as for these prices, they were a bit too beautiful. Based on the calculation that one gourmet point could only be obtained when 100 people were poisoned. For him to buy even the simplest skill, he would need to poison 100,000 people. To achieve that, he would at least need hundreds of thousands or even millions of viewers watching. After all, not everyone would be interested in food. Feeling the pressure, Tang Ming took a deep breath and fixed his expectant gaze on the gleaming beginner gift pack in the system inventory, then clicked it. A flash of light passed. Beginner gift pack opened. Obtained one free beginner skill purchase opportunity and one beginner pet capture card. Free purchase? Swish. Tang Ming, who had just felt somewhat disheartened by the high prices, was instantly energized and quickly opened the shop, his gaze landing on the last few skills. Jackpot. So what should he choose? Licking his lips, Tang Ming hovered over several top beginner skills for a long time. In the end, he set his sights on the one skill that was most practical for him at the moment. Beginner X-ray vision. Price, 30,000 gourmet points. After thinking for a moment, Tang Ming chose to buy it. The token representing the purchase opportunity in the inventory disappeared. Tang Ming only felt a cool stream of air flow into his eyes, and his vision suddenly went black. After quite a while, his eyesight finally returned to normal. Blinking a few times, Tang Ming looked around somewhat puzzled. Was that it? It didn't seem like there was any feeling. The scene before his eyes was still the same as before. He secretly glanced at Xu Yiting, and the girl was still wearing clothes. What a letdown. Depressed, Tang Ming withdrew his gaze and brought up the system again, discovering that in the skill bar representing himself, there really was already a beginner X-ray vision skill. There was also an activate button behind it. He tapped it. The view before his eyes finally changed a little. The coconut in his hand had originally been green, but now that green layer looked as if it had turned transparent, revealing the white underneath. Looking at the ground, it was still sand, but on closer inspection, it seemed as if he were standing on a transparent film with the soles of his feet about 1 centimeter above the ground. Now it was time for the main event. Looking at the girl, just as he was about to turn his head, Tang Ming's eye suddenly twitched, and his gaze fell on a jumping number on the system panel. 35. 34. His gourmet points were actually decreasing. Was it really this much of a scam? Did activating X-ray vision also deduct gourmet points? To verify his guess, Tang Ming couldn't care about peeping now, and quickly looked at the surrounding environment, carefully comparing the effects of the X-ray vision. After 1 minute, his gourmet points became 33. After 2 minutes, his gourmet points were 32. The experimental result was out. 1 gourmet point was deducted per minute. The intensity of the X-ray vision depended on the density of the material. For things like sand and stone, he could at most see 1 or 2 centimeters below the surface, while things like leaves and grass could almost be completely penetrated. The only relatively strong aspect was looking through seawater. He could almost directly see the seabed several meters deep. I don't have time to waste here with you. Give me the knife. I want to look around other parts of the island to see if I can find a water source. Tang Ming was in the middle of studying it when Xu Yiting's voice came from beside his ear. He turned to look, and his expression froze. A warm stream at the tip of his nose felt like it was about to gush out. Even sand and gravel could be seen through by a centimeter or 2, so there was no need to mention how thick the modesty clothes provided by the production team could be. No matter what, Xu Yiting was also the former host goddess. The goddess he had dreamed about day and night was suddenly standing naked right in front of him. No matter how thick-skinned Tang Ming was, he still couldn't help blushing furiously at this moment. Does it have to be this exciting? He hurriedly shifted his gaze away, then casually picked up the cleaver at his feet and handed it over backward. Xu Yiting took the cleaver, a trace of surprise on her face. Before coming here, she had already prepared herself to be thoroughly made things difficult for by this guy Tang Ming before she could borrow it. But now this was, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Aren't you going to look for water?" "Hurry up and go." "Then, I'm going. Just stay here and don't run around." "Same as before, I don't expect you to help. Just don't make trouble." "Wait." Xu Yiting was just about to leave when Tang Ming called out to her. The latter seemed to remember something. He quickly turned off his X-ray vision ability, ran to pick up the coconut he had just scraped, and returned to Xu Yiting's side. Looking at what Tang Ming handed over, Xu Yiting frowned. "I'm not hungry. Are you a pig? All you think about all day is eating." Tang Ming glared at Xu Yiting irritably. reached into the coconut shell with his hand, and before Shu Yiting could react, smeared it toward her face. You. Coming to her senses, Shu Yiting raised her hand and grabbed the hand Tang Ming had used to take advantage of her, then was about to throw him over her shoulder when Tang Ming stopped her with a low shout. Don't move. Can't you see how strong the sun is right now? You're a girl. Don't you have any sense of skincare at all? This is coconut oil I just scraped out. It can nourish the skin and protect against the sun. Shu Yiting's movements softened. That's more like it. As a girl, don't think about using force all the time. As a pretty face, the visual star of our live stream, you have to maintain your natural advantage at all times. That's the only way to attract more viewers. Ow! The moment Tang Ming finished speaking, Shu Yiting finally completed the move she had left unfinished. Tang Ming's body spun 180 degrees in the air before landing. His butt slammed hard onto the beach. Seeing this, I'm relieved. It wasn't for nothing that I waited this long. What a great way to court death. I sell coffins, and I've been following this guy for a long time. I play the Swana, and I've also been following this guy for a long time. Custom-made funeral wreaths have already begun stocking up. The live stream was filled with laughter. Tang Ming rubbed his aching butt, wanting to retaliate a little, but he inadvertently glanced at the cleaver in Shu Yiting's hand, and was so guilty that he didn't even dare groan too loudly. With a cold snort, Shu Yiting shot Tang Ming a fierce glare. Stay here and behave. Otherwise, when I get back, you'll be sorry. If you've got nothing to do, go check by the beach later and see if there's anything edible you can pick up. The pent-up frustration in her heart had finally been vented, and Shu Yiting only felt refreshed all over. Leaving behind a harsh warning, she turned and walked into the woods. Humph, so what if you know a bit of kung fu? Once your bro has more gourmet points in the future, just watch how I deal with you, you little brat. After muttering a couple of lines, Tang Ming glanced at the drone above his head, and a faint smile flashed across the corner of his mouth. Now that there had been conflict, the audience surely wouldn't be small. It was time to begin the real performance. But before the performance, he still had to make thorough preparations. Thinking this, Tang Ming ran to the edge of the woods and gathered quite a few branches, snapped them into short sections, hugged them in his arms, and walked toward the seaside. The ocean's resources were indeed abundant. But the abundance is also in the sea. Although Tang Ming can now see through seawater, many things aren't something he can catch just because he can see them. With his current limited ability, the easiest things to get are undoubtedly the small seafood that may be hidden on the beach. Gourmet points are deducted at 1 point per minute, and the 30 points he has left are only enough for half an hour. So in order not to waste time, he decided to plan before taking action. Sweeping his gaze around, he stopped at the reef at the end of this stretch of beach. As he walked along, it was indeed just as he had thought. It wasn't low tide yet, and on the coastal beach, apart from the occasional few small crabs scurrying by, it was rare to see things like shells. In other words, the small seafood at this moment was all hidden in the mud and sand. Without knowing their locations, trying to dig them out little by little was undoubtedly like looking for a needle in a haystack. But now, X-ray vision, activate. The moment he pressed the start button, Tang Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. After the X-ray vision filtered out the mud and sand on the beach surface, it revealed a completely different scene. In many places, to the naked eye it looked like nothing but calm sand. But a little farther down, there were tiny little holes one after another. Those were the breathing passages left by ordinary shellfish and the like. It was just that the constant washing of seawater normally created the illusion of a smooth, level surface. Holding the wooden sticks, Tang Ming fixed his eyes on a small hole in front of him. After a brief look, he inserted one wooden stick. Once he marked the spot, he didn't linger and immediately went to look for the next hole. Only when he encountered those thin shells buried in the sand that he could directly see with his X-ray vision would he grab them out in one go and toss them onto the shore not far away. Half an hour later, Tang Ming had used up all the sticks in his hands. Looking back, on the beach stretching over 100 meters, there were at least 100 sticks planted. Now, let me see the harvest. He reached out to scoop up some seawater to wash the sweat off his face and cool down. Then Tang Ming went back under the coconut tree to get the large iron pot and entrenching shovel. Returning once more to the starting point beside the reef, he began digging. Extra, the world rankings have been updated. What world rankings? While Tang Ming was busy digging for seafood, everyone in the live stream was drawn by a barrage comment. That previous world potential rankings where Bear Grylls was only ranked 23rd. It was just updated. This time Bear Grylls has fallen to somewhere in the 30s, and Ed Stafford is in the 50s. That awesome. Then who is ahead of them? This time, first place is an American duo called God of War. In the past 2+ hours, they have already explored at least 1/3 of the island they're on and discovered a source of fresh water. The other rankings are basically based on the area explored and the resources discovered. I checked out those live streams, and they're all beasts. From the moment they landed on the island, they haven't wasted a bit of time. Obviously, in an unfamiliar environment, the faster you can familiarize yourself with your surroundings, the more advantage you can gain, except here. Who says otherwise? My goddess has already worked very hard, but bringing along such a weirdo, facepalm. What's wrong with a weirdo? I happen to love watching this. I also went out and looked around just now. Those live streams were all the same old exploration, chopping down trees to clear a path. What's so interesting about that? Exactly. I also looked around and came back. This place is still the one worth watching. What's the use of being worth watching? With only the goddess alone, how long can she hold out? I just want to check the rankings. Do you know what place this group is in? Dead last. It's embarrassing just thinking about it. I also just saw a comment from an American expert saying this group is completely here just to make up the numbers, and stating that if this group can also make it to the end, he'll livestream himself eating shit. Damn, who are you looking down on? I think our brother Ming is pretty good. At the very least, while the goddess was away, he wasn't slacking off. Under such a blazing sun, he kept searching for food by the sea the whole time. Is that what you call looking for food? Stick a few poles in the ground, and that counts as food? Making markers? You can tell where there's food with one glance, so why bother sticking poles in? Just grandstanding, that's all. Do you really think you can coast to the end just by using a little cleverness to attract some viewers? We're on the same side. Is there really any need to be this extreme? What if he really is looking for food? Besides, whether he can find any or not, at least during this time, he successfully piqued my curiosity. Heh, if trash like him can actually find food, I'll do the same as that expert and livestream myself eating shit. And if he can't find any, will you eat it? Do you dare? If not, then stop BBNG here with me. Weak is weak. What's there to say? Weak my ass. I despise people like you who worship foreigners the most. I'll bet it is. Heh, don't think I don't know what you're up to, trying to exploit a loophole in my wording. Even one shell counts as food, huh? That's just like you. So that's what it comes down to. People who support trash aren't much better themselves. Garbage. You were the one who proposed the bet, and now you don't dare? What kind of thing are you yourself? Huh, you're just like him, only capable of playing little tricks. If you've got the guts, let's bet by normal standards. I won't ask for much. As long as he, just by himself, can find food that visibly weighs more than 2 gene, I'll count it as my loss. Including the weight of the shells, as long as it totals 2 gene. Dare to do it? Come on, whoever doesn't is a grandson. Okay, I've already taken a screenshot. I've already sent it to friends over in the US so they can post it on the international forum for everyone to see. No objections, right? No objections. So there are foreign friends too. No wonder you rushed in here throwing sarcasm and provocation around. Probably because you came after seeing that idiot expert's comment, right? Perfect, then the two of you can eat together. Heh, keep talking tough. Well, I won't say for now who can win, but this new friend here. I think you should rewind the live stream and watch it again. Maybe you'll get a surprise. Just smiling without saying a word. By the way, that guy making the bet, you're being too ruthless, aren't you? You can't treat international friends like this. Don't you know he's one of those experts? If you offend an expert, he'll live stream himself eating shit for you to see and scare you to death. I really don't want to spoil it, but I honestly can't hold it in anymore. International friend. Just a reminder, when this scumbag was sticking in those poles earlier, the stuff he casually tossed onto the shore was already close to 1 gene. So, you still have hope of winning. Naturally, Tang Ming knew nothing about the farce in the livestream chat. At this moment, his entrenching shovel had already been driven into the ground beneath the first pole. With a hard pry, he dug up a large clump of mud and sand mixed with seawater. Dumped to the side, the mud and sand were washed by the passing seawater, revealing the edge of a shell about the size of a coin. A good start, though it's a bit small. Picking it up casually, Tang Ming rinsed it in the seawater, tossed it into the pot, and then dug farther down along the hole he had just made. After several more scoops in a row, there was already a hole more than 10 centimeters deep where the pole had been. In the turned-up mud and sand, he found a total of 3 clams. They were different sizes, kind of like a family of 3, with the latter 2 a full size larger than the first one. Listening to the clinking sound of the clams dropping into the pot, Tang Ming smiled in satisfaction, but he didn't keep digging any deeper. Because by now seawater had already started filling the sand pit, and the deeper the pit went, the more compact the sand became. Trying to dig deeper would waste quite a bit of energy. As a publicly acknowledged lazy person, spending more effort to get the same thing was obviously not his style. Without the slightest hesitation, Tang Ming took a few quick steps to the nearest other pole. He swung the shovel. This time, at about the same depth as before, another clam appeared. There was only one this time, but its size was quite impressive. Now that's more like it. Holding the egg-sized clam, he tossed it lightly in his hand. A glint lit up in Tang Ming's eyes. His foodie instincts told him that ingredients of this size definitely wouldn't taste bad. So the problem was with fresh ingredients. They had to be eaten as soon as possible or it would be a waste. He had originally wanted to dig slowly, but now he had no choice but to speed up. The third hole, 2 clams. Not bad. The fourth one brought a new species. It was actually a mussel, as long as his palm, and when he tossed it into the pot, the sound it made was much heavier than a clam's. That's the fun of beachcombing like this. You never know what you'll find next, or how big it will be. Spurred on by the thrill of surprise, Tang Ming became even more energized, and his movements grew more skillful. After a little over an hour, he had checked all the wooden sticks he had planted earlier. In the end, with his harvest, he dragged the heavy iron pot back into the shade of the tree. Tang Ming stared blankly at the contents of the pot, then couldn't help touching his wrist. Following the method Xu Yiting had taught him yesterday, he pulled the drone over in front of him. After adjusting the camera, he started filming close-ups. Good stuff should be shared. Although he had been mentally prepared, the live stream chat, which had already been quiet for a while, instantly exploded again. Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. Someone tell me this isn't real? Am I hallucinating? What a coincidence. I'm hallucinating too. Damn it. I came here to watch this scumbag starve, so what the hell is this now? I just want to know how many gene this whole pot weighs. Where's that international friend who made the bet? I heard you're good at estimating by eye, so hurry up and estimate it. Is there even 2 gene? Same here, I also want an estimate. We'll even allow you to count 10 gene as 1 gene. Aside from Lao Ba, I've never personally witnessed a live stream of someone eating shit. This time I can finally catch it while it's hot. I'm guessing our international friend got so excited he passed out in the bathroom. As someone who grew up by the sea, I just want to know whether the deserted island's resources are insanely abundant, or this scumbag has X-ray vision. Because this is fucking completely unscientific. Every hole yields something, and he only turned over such a thin layer. If it were me, I'd get at least half again as much. Watching this makes me want to go too. Who was it that told me back then that if I went, I'd be lucky just not to starve to death? Get out here. I swear I won't beat you to death. The barrage of comments was even more explosive than Tang Ming had expected. At this moment, he had absolutely no intention of easing up on the audience either. After resting for a bit, he immediately began taking his haul out of the pot, sorting and laying everything out in a row. Mussels, 8 of them. The smallest were 3 fingers wide, and the biggest were larger than his palm. Those 8 alone had to weigh at least 5 gene. Clams, he couldn't be bothered to count them, since most of the haul was these things. With around 30 premium ones, each about the size of an egg, placed together with the smaller ones, they took up half the coconut tree's shade. Razor clams, a bit fewer than the clams, and more than 20 of them could be considered king razor clams, each as thick as a thumb. There were also dozens of smaller ones. Sea snails were about as numerous as the mussels, and though not especially large individually, together they still weighed at least 2 gene. There were close to 20 scallops, all fairly uniform in size, about as big as steamed buns. In addition, there were more than a dozen other shellfish whose names even he couldn't fully identify. Laid out neatly, the various shells resembled a peacock with its tail spread, forming a gorgeous tableau around the coconut tree. While all the viewers were marveling, quite a few seafood aficionados were swallowing hard. Never mind the quality. These were all genuine wild-caught specimens, completely incomparable to farm-raised ones. And speaking of quality, egg-sized clams and king razor clams as thick as a thumb were premium goods that money couldn't easily buy. Even without eating them, they were enough to make people drool. Ding. System mission, daily temptation. As the host of the God of Cooking system, you must not slack off on any meal in any environment. Please complete 1 simple dish within 2 hours. After controlling the drone to pose for various shots for 5 or 6 minutes, the system task Tang Ming had anticipated finally arrived. Looking at the things scattered all over the ground, Tang Ming did not dare waste any more time. Even without mentioning the system's strict standards for food, he himself would not watch top-quality ingredients go to waste by his own hand. He quickly gathered the shellfish together and put them in a pit by the shore, a short distance from the waves, to keep them alive. Then Tang Ming turned and headed into the woods, spending about half an hour. collecting quite a bit of branches and dry firewood, and also casually picking a few broad palm leaves. Then he carried the entrenching shovel and cut several fairly sturdy small branches, stripping off the bark, compared their lengths against the iron pot, and chopped them to just the right size to rest across the middle. After that, he walked around the area, chose a coconut tree with relatively ample shade, and dug a rectangular pit in the sandy ground not far from the tree. He found a few stones and stacked them into a stove. At this point, the cooking preparations were complete. By this time, it was already getting late. He looked up toward the woods in the distance where Shu Yiting had left, hesitated for a moment, and still walked toward the sandy pit where the shellfish had been placed. Handling seafood was quite a time-consuming task, but before that, he first sorted through the shellfish once. As a refined person, naturally only the finest ingredients were worthy of him. Very quickly, mussels larger than a palm, egg-sized clams, sea snails, scallops, and king razor clams were put back into the pot by him. He dragged it to the seaside. If catching seafood was still somewhat unfamiliar to Tang Ming, then handling seafood could completely be considered one of his instincts. As for seafood of this kind, if it is not handled promptly after death, it will easily absorb the taste of seawater and impurities, turning bitter and salty. So for many people who do not know how to handle it, the best method is to put these shellfish straight into the pot. But in that case, sand and other matter inside the shellfish will cling to the meat, affecting the texture when eaten. Some people also keep shellfish in fresh water for a period of time to purge the sand before cooking. And while this method does indeed reduce the sand by quite a lot, it also has a drawback. The shellfish become less active, and when eaten they lack the springiness they ought to have. To bring out the most perfect and ultimate flavor of shellfish, especially when there is no clean fresh water available, the most crucial point is speed. While the shellfish are still fully active, find the sand sac and the parts containing impurities on them, and quickly remove them. With a simple rinse, there will be no sand, and they will not be too salty or too bitter either. At this moment, Tang Ming also brought this instinct to its utmost limit. With a light pry of the entrenching shovel, he opened the shell. Without even needing to look, he sliced along the skirt edge to sever the adductor muscle inside, then used a small wooden stick to accurately poke into the shellfish meat and, with a gentle squeeze, forced out the inedible organs and impurities inside. Then he lightly rinsed it twice in seawater, shook off the seawater, and put it back into the shell. The whole process took no more than 5 seconds once the handling began. Even so, it still took more than 10 minutes to finish processing everything that needed to be done. He washed the pot clean and filled it with a little less than half a pot of seawater. Tang Ming returned to the coconut tree and placed the pot on the stove he had built earlier. He casually picked up some dead branches and fallen leaves from around the area, then tore off some palm fiber to use as tinder. With a few quick strikes of the fire starter, flames sprang up. He stuffed the slowly burning tinder into the pit beneath the stove and added a few more handfuls of dry branches. A strong fire quickly blazed up. Then Tang Ming took the small branches he had stripped earlier and, starting from the middle, placed them one by one across both sides of the pot. In just a few moves, the branches were laid across the surface of the water like a steamer rack. He tended the fire and waited a few more minutes, and the seawater in the pot finally came to a boil. Glancing at the woods, Tang Ming brought up the system panel and checked the mission countdown. There were only 20 minutes left. Looks like you won't have the luck to enjoy this delicacy, he muttered to himself. Then Tang Ming carried over the various premium seafood he had just prepared on a palm leaf. He picked a palm leaf about the same size as the pot and laid it on the steaming rack, then began arranging the seafood on top. The harder-to-cook sea snails and mussels went on the bottom layer. Then he spread a layer of palm leaves over them before adding scallops and clams. After that, he laid down another layer of leaves and neatly arranged the razor clams on top. The pot was basically filled to the brim. Finally, he used several larger palm leaves as a lid to cover the pot. All done. He tossed 2 big logs into the fire pit, and for the moment there was no need to worry about the pot anymore. When steaming food, the key is to do it in one go. With Tang Ming's experience, there was naturally no need to keep lifting the lid to check whether it was done. Taking advantage of the spare time, he headed to the rocky shore by the sea. As the saying goes, even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. His situation now was rather awkward. Aside from being able to find food, he didn't have a single seasoning. His superb culinary skills had no room to shine at all. As a gourmet, what he wanted was not to cook just for others to watch. He himself had to be able to eat comfortably too. So finding suitable seasonings was even more urgent than finding food. Some people might say that a truly great chef values the original flavor, and doesn't use unnecessary seasonings. If he met someone like that, Tang Ming would only say 2 words to him: get lost. Try asking any great chef to cook without seasonings. It's like smashed cucumbers. Even if you shape them into a flower, without seasoning they'll still be plain and unremarkable. And nearly all seasonings depend on one thing: salt. As long as he solved the salt problem now, everything else would be much easier. In the past, in pursuit of high-quality sea salt, Tang Ming had actually looked into some of the production process in depth. The normal method is solar evaporation. Seawater is channeled into coastal pools and spread out under the sun. And when it reaches a certain temperature, sea salt naturally crystallizes out, producing brine. After that, the crystals are purified. But for now, for the amount 2 people need, there was obviously no need to go through all that trouble. He just needed to find some ready-made. When he had previously dug for shellfish in this rocky area, Tang Ming had noticed that there were naturally formed pits of various sizes. And given the current weather conditions, there was a good chance of finding coarse salt. Although this naturally precipitated coarse salt also contained impurities, with a little simple processing, it was basically ready to eat directly. Of course, that was only for today's meal. If they wanted to eat it later, he'd still have to make some by hand and store it. Holding a shell as wide as his palm, Tang Ming carefully stepped across the rocks and searched along the way. Before long, he found tiny snow-white traces in some cracks between the stones. He carefully scraped them into the shell, gently blowing away the debris attached to the surface. The sea salt became much cleaner. After spending more than 10 minutes, he had collected a small, thumb-sized lump of salt. And Tang Ming returned to the coconut tree. In the steaming air, a rich aroma was now spreading everywhere. Taking a deep breath, Tang Ming couldn't help licking his lips. Since coming to the island, he had only eaten 2 coconuts and nothing substantial. Now his stomach was already starting to protest. Not rushing to lift the palm leaves, Tang Ming turned around and used the entrenching shovel to pry open a coconut. Then poured some coconut water into the shell that had held the salt and began stirring it with a stick. After the salt dissolved, grayish-black silt began separating out beneath the coconut juice. Setting down the shell and waiting for the silt to settle, Tang Ming poured the clean top layer of coconut salt water into another clean shell. A sweet and salty dipping sauce was now complete. Of course, anyone with a bit of common sense knows that coconut and seafood are best not eaten together. Tang Ming naturally knew this as well, but for a foodie, everything else is insignificant in the face of flavor. The state he pursued could be summed up in just 2 words: delicious, delicious, delicious. As long as it tasted good, who cared whether it was nutritious or not? As Tang Ming used to say, do I really lack that little bit of nutrition? What annoyed him most was also that kind of person who hears things secondhand, reads a few bits of dubious popular science, and then thinks they've become a nutritionist, making a fuss about everything. Just look at the older generation. They even ate wild roots and tree bark, and whose health wasn't better than people's today. Still, not caring about nutrition didn't mean Tang Ming was casual about eating. On the contrary, a perfect dinner not only had to taste good, it also had to be eaten happily and comfortably. To achieve that, plating was very important. If it looked pleasing, your appetite would naturally increase too. He went to pick quite a few more broad, tender green palm leaves, then neatly arranged them in front of him like a tablecloth. Conch shells for the base, clams for decoration, scallops for embellishment, then razor clams to outline the lines. Before long, on the tender green backdrop, he had arranged the steamed ingredients into the shape of a peacock, and not a stiff-looking one, either. At the very least, from a high-altitude drone shot, it looked like a lifelike peacock. Damn, this is what a true seafood master looks like. These ingredients, this plating, pure natural gourmet food. Guys, did I enter the wrong live stream? Is this really a survival live stream? My mouth is watering already. Oh my god, why am I being shown this in the middle of the night? Yeah, this damn time difference. It's afternoon over on the deserted island, but it's already midnight here. Showing food porn at midnight. Is there no justice anymore? I came here to gloat and watch the joke, so why does it feel like I'm the one being laughed at? Suddenly, the instant noodles in my hand don't smell so good anymore. I suspect this guy is definitely doing it on purpose. Just making a shape wasn't enough. There were all kinds of close-ups too. Is he trying to make people die of craving? But this way of eating is a bit extravagant, isn't it? There are only 2 people, and he steamed this much. Are they going to live like this or not? If I were the goddess, I'd definitely break up with him. Wait, that's not right. This guy has already started eating by himself. Where's the goddess? Isn't he waiting for her? Scumbag. But then again, if it were me, I wouldn't be able to resist either. Seafood just doesn't taste as good once it gets cold. I really want just one bite, Just one. It was as if he had heard everyone's cries. Tang Ming fully upheld the principle of letting the audience eat first. After posing the food for the camera, he casually picked up a large conch in front of him. With the tip of the prepared wooden stick in his hand, he gave it a gentle pry, and a large piece of steaming conch meat was lifted out. Rich with juices, the conch meat trembled slightly in front of the drone, as if telling of its own fragrance. Bringing it to the tip of his nose, Tang Ming took a deep breath, an intoxicated expression appearing on his face. Then he opened his mouth wide and bit half the conch meat into it. As he chewed, a little meat juice even flowed from the corner of his mouth without any regard for appearance. It left the viewers dry-mouthed and unbearably tempted. After finishing it in a few bites, Tang Ming didn't even wipe the juice from his mouth, and picked up another clam, pried open the shell, and inside, beside the tender clam meat, was a thin layer of broth. With a slight pout of his lips, the clam meat was sucked into his mouth like jelly, making a tantalizing gurgling sound. It's over. It's over. I can't take it anymore. This scumbag is simply inhuman. I can't watch anymore. If I keep watching, I won't be able to sleep. I'm already unable to sleep, okay? Who the heck keeps telling me this is a wilderness survival livestream? I swear I won't beat him to death. I feel like this stream should change its name, so unsuspecting people don't wander in by mistake. Change it to what? There's nothing wrong with this name. I'm waking my bestie up right now to watch the stream. I can't be the only one starving. Good idea. I'm going to wake my friends up too. Damn it. I'm never coming here in the middle of the night again. Unless there's something even tastier. Are you all only focused on the food? Doesn't anyone think something is off here? Wasn't he supposed to be a useless scumbag? How did he turn into a mouth-watering gourmet expert? You're only feeling that now? Shouldn't you have realized it back when he ate shit earlier? This guy is clearly hiding his true strength. And I trusted him so much, even making him the #1 scumbag in my heart. I'm a chef myself, and judging by my 30 years of professional experience, this young man is far beyond merely hiding his strength. Just from the way he handled the seafood and controlled the cooking time, he can almost be called a top-tier 1-star chef. What I'm curious about is, at his age, how did he train himself to this level? More than that, judging from everything Ming-Ji has done before, it may look unreliable, but I've watched from beginning to end, and whenever he does anything, it seems like he has already thought it all through beforehand. Whether it's leading the goddess by the nose, goddess, please don't hit me, or his rhythm in cooking, it all flows as smoothly as clouds and water, never a single unnecessary move. But his profile shows that his only skill is driving. Profile? You believe that stuff? I already felt it was completely unreasonable for such a useless person to be mixed into a team full of elites. Now it seems this is the real hidden master. A hidden master? I came here after hearing Professor Gibbs's evaluation to see just how weak this last place team was, but I didn't expect the people watching this stream to be a bunch of wild dreamers too. The previously noisy live stream quieted down quite a bit after those words appeared. Another international friend? By the way, do all you international friends like eating shit? With mouths that stink this much? It's understandable if you don't like it. Just like I don't like teams like that so-called God of War and the like either, but barging into someone else's live stream and attacking everyone is going too far. Did I say anything wrong? A weakling contestant with no sense of the bigger picture at all, yet you've forcefully imagined him into some hidden master. With just this little bit of food. Out of these hundreds of teams, who couldn't find some if they put in a little effort? Making it in such a flashy way and eating and drinking without restraint is an insult to the competition. There's a saying, don't argue with idiots, because an idiot's horizon only reaches that high. That Professor Gibbs, isn't he the one who said he'd livestream himself eating shit? Just tell him to eat it already. No need to wait for the result. I can say responsibly that even if the others can't hold on, there won't be any problem at all with Ming-Ji's group. A bunch of weaklings who only know how to talk tough. Your mouths are soft. No wonder all you can do is eat shit. Go check the international forum yourself. That hottest post has screenshots from tens of thousands of people. And it's also the scene of international friends like you coming over here to talk big and getting slapped in the face. Don't compare me with that idiot. I only speak with facts, and the fact is, no matter how well he's eating now, his world ranking is still last place, and his overall rating has even dropped again. They really can't be compared, because you're even stupider than he is. If that so-called potential ranking were actually useful, then why even hold a competition? Wouldn't it be enough to just announce the results directly? If you don't even have a mind of your own, then you'd better crawl back to your own contestant's side. Unreasonable, ignorant Chinese. Brain dead, stupid Americans. A war of words was about to break out. The already lively live stream directly exploded into an uproar because of the appearance of several foreign IDs. A lot of people rushed over after hearing the news as well. As for those few foreign IDs fighting on away turf, it was obvious they couldn't stir up much trouble, and in their anger, they started making snide, sarcastic remarks on major international forums to stir up conflict. As the instigator, Tang Ming had no idea that all he had done was have a plain, unremarkable meal, yet it had caused such a huge uproar outside. After eating the seafood feast for nearly half an hour, Tang Ming finally stopped when he felt he truly couldn't stuff himself any further. He glanced at the mess all over the ground and had no mind to clean it up. When it came to cooking, he had always adhered to one principle: responsible for feeding, not for washing, unless he was the only one around. This was a chef's pride. Seafood was a magical thing. Before eating it, it smelled delicious, but after eating too much of it, there was only one feeling left: stinky and fishy. Patting his round belly, Tang Ming covered the unfinished food with palm leaves, then went some distance away to find a coconut tree where he couldn't smell the seafood and sat against it lazily. He summoned the system panel. As expected, the mission was already marked complete, but the number below it made him suddenly sit bolt upright. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. 1,500 gourmet points? This can't be fake, right? Rubbing his eyes, Tang Ming confirmed again that he wasn't seeing things, then quickly opened the mission log. He flipped straight to the final mission statistics. 100,000 cases of mild poisoning, converted into 1,000 poison points. 3,000 cases of light poisoning, converted into 300 poison points. 200 cases of moderate poisoning, converted into 200 poison points, for a total of 1,500 points. Congratulations, host, on completing a small goal. Gourmet points have exceeded 1,000. A small step forward, a giant leap for civilization. The daily mission gift pack has been upgraded to a bronze gift pack. Please check your inventory for it. There's another benefit too? Tang Ming's eyes began to shine as he quickly summoned the treasure chest floating quietly in the inventory. It didn't look as eye-catching as the beginner gift pack, but since it had been upgraded, it probably wouldn't be too lousy. After thinking about it, Tang Ming pressed the open button. Congratulations, host, on opening the bronze gift pack and obtaining the intermediate skill, plant identification. Plant identification? Why isn't it a free purchase pass? He felt somewhat disappointed, so Tang Ming opened the system shop. After looking around on it, his gaze landed on one of the skills, basic plant identification. Priced at 1,000 gourmet points, able to identify common plants and know their medicinal properties. The basic one costs 1,000, and right now the system only lets me see basic level items. But what I got is intermediate, so it's not bad when you think about it. After comparing the prices, Tang Ming felt much better, and his gaze fell on the skill description. Intermediate plant identification can identify all plants known to mankind and understand their effects. It had to be said that the intermediate effect was more than just a little stronger than the basic one. Those 4 simple words, known to mankind, were enough to explain everything. In this day and age, how many plants were still unknown? Even if there were some, he probably wouldn't have many chances to encounter them. So from now on, could he modestly tell others, "Please call me the Encyclopedia of Plants"? Satisfied, he clicked Learn. Tang Ming felt as if someone had forcibly stuffed a huge pile of things into his brain. The torrent of massive information made his vision go black, and he nearly fainted on the spot. Only after quite a while did he come back to his senses. Shaking his head, he felt dizzy and muddle-headed, the whole person still woozy. From the jungle not far away came a rustling sound, and then a figure emerged from within. After being gone for an afternoon, Xu Yiting now looked several degrees more bedraggled than when she had left in high spirits. The set of clothing the production team had issued to cover herself was also torn in several places. Her dusty face showed a trace of unwillingness. If I had another 2 hours, I might have been able to follow the dried upstream and find the upstream water source. It's all that guy's fault for wasting so much of my time. Muttering under her breath, Xu Yiting soon spotted Tang Ming not far away. What are you doing? Taking a few steps forward and seeing that something seemed off with Tang Ming's expression, Xu Yiting frowned. At this moment, Tang Ming's head was still spinning. Hearing Xu Yiting's voice, he couldn't even be bothered to move. Ate too much, lying down to digest. I knew this would happen. I'm telling you, don't expect me to pick coconuts for you again in the future, because on this island, there very likely may be no water source. When that happens, coconuts will be the only thing that can save our lives, and I absolutely will not allow you to waste them again. Can your business wait a bit? My head is spinning right now, and I'm uncomfortably full. Let me lie quietly for a while. Tang Ming turned over, still feeling somewhat uncomfortable. Strangely, she didn't argue back. Heh, so you don't like being criticized a little. Shu Yiting snorted. With nowhere to vent her anger, she certainly couldn't just bottle it up. After thinking for a moment, she smiled slightly and carefully reached into her pocket, pulling out 2 bluish-red fruits. They looked a bit like tomatoes, about the size of a fist. But from the way she held them, one could tell these fruits had not come easily. Circling around to stand in front of Tang Ming, Shu Yiting crouched down and held 1 fruit out in front of his nose. A few seconds later, Tang Ming suddenly opened his eyes. Want to eat? Squinting, Shu Yiting looked smug. Tang Ming said nothing, his eyes fixed straight on the fruit in Shu Yiting's hand. In his mind, information about the fruit surfaced directly. Let me have a look. Didn't you say you were too full? You can still eat? If I tell you to give it to me, then give it to me. Why so much nonsense? Still pretty fierce, huh? Must be starving, right? It's not impossible to give you one. As long as you promise to listen to me from now on, then I'll share one with you. I'm asking you whether you'll give it or not. If not, don't even think about eating the food I make. Tang Ming cast Shu Yiting an irritated glance and said flatly, Are you hallucinating from hunger? Wash your hands before eating too. Are you still not awake? Where would any food come from? Too lazy to argue with you. If you won't eat, forget it. After saying that, Tang Ming turned and walked to the tree where the seafood feast had been placed. He lifted the palm leaves covering the food to keep it warm, grabbed the edges of the palm leaves underneath with both hands, lifted the whole thing up, and started walking toward the beach. Shu Yiting, who had followed all the way over, naturally also saw the various heavy seafood items in Tang Ming's hands. Then, smelling the rich aroma in the air, she was completely dumbfounded. Who am I? Where am I? After quite a while, she came back to her senses, and Tang Ming was already carrying the food toward the beach. Wait, what are you doing? Aren't you not eating anymore? Then it can only be dumped. No. In a panic, Shu Yiting reached out to block Tang Ming's way. Looking at the amused expression in Tang Ming's eyes, she felt her face heat up. She had wanted to put on an act, but the slap in the face came so quickly. Well, wasting food is bad behavior, so? As she spoke, her gaze had already shifted to the eye-catching assortment of shellfish in Tang Ming's arms. Then give me those 2 things in your hand. Then let's be clear first. This counts as a food exchange. I didn't eat your stuff for nothing. You're an idiot. Tang Ming rolled his eyes at her, set the food on the ground, and reached out to snatch the fruits from Shu Yiting's hand, cursing. It's just making a little food. What's so great about that? Shu Yiting, unconvinced, retorted. But as soon as the words left her mouth, she saw that Tang Ming had already rushed to the shore and fiercely thrown the 2 fruits into the sea. Hey, what are you doing? She hurriedly chased after him, but the fruits had already drifted far away with the waves. What am I doing? You don't believe me when I call you an idiot, and you're supposed to be a survival expert. You can't even tell whether food is poisonous, yet you still dare pick it and bring it back. Are you trying to create the miracle of the whole team getting wiped out on the first day? Poisonous. What else? Did you think those were tomatoes? Ever heard of wild nightshade? It looks pretty much the same as a tomato, but if you eat it, at best your vision will blur. In serious cases, it can even cause blindness in both eyes. If you don't believe it, there's still time to fish them back and try. Seeing how serious Tang Ming looked, Shu Yiting's face turned a little pale, but she didn't really doubt whether Tang Ming was just trying to scare her. If you don't eat now, it'll go bad. Behind her, Tang Ming's voice rang out again, and Shu Yiting's thoughts instantly returned to the seafood feast on the ground. A few minutes later, under the cool shade of the trees, as a plump piece of shellfish entered her mouth, Shu Yiting felt as if she were in a dream. Even now, she still hadn't figured out what was going on. She had worked diligently and conscientiously. After exhausting herself to find 2 wild fruits, she had still felt smug about it. Meanwhile, the guy opposite her, who looked full of disdain and had even covered his nose at her, clearly hadn't done anything, yet he was drinking coconut juice. Eating a feast, and even she could only have dinner thanks to him. And this dinner was a bit too luxurious, wasn't it? Conches, scallops, razor clams, mussels, and shellfish whose names she didn't even know. Not only were they huge, but they also tasted unbelievably good. If nothing else, among seafood of the same kind, today's meal was definitely the best tasting she had ever had, bar none. The only painful, blissful thing was that with so much food, they had to finish it all in one meal, because that jerk across from her had said that anything left over would have to be thrown away. What kind of life was this? With regret in her heart, Shu Yiting also made up her mind. Eat it, then. Only by finishing it all could she make that guy whose nose was practically pointing at the sky understand how hard survival was. Otherwise, he would always think survival was just a vacation. But right now, it really did feel a bit like a vacation. Cool shade, delicious food. It felt like a dream. Hey, can you eat faster or not? When you're done, hurry up and clean up the ground. Then take the bigger shells and wash them clean. Find some grass or place them under leaves to catch dew. Seriously, what use are you? You went out and messed around for half the day and still didn't find any water at all. And I still have to come up with a solution. Honestly, a scumbag was still the same scumbag. With just one casual remark, he pulled Shu Yiting right back to reality. Don't go too far. You only found a little food, didn't you? If it were me, I'd only find more than this. Oh, if you hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. There are still a lot of shellfish in the pit over there. After you finish cleaning up, go deal with them. There are still more? A lot. Shu Yiting swallowed and swept her gaze over the food in front of her, then looked at the pile of empty shells stacked like a mountain nearby. Just here alone, there had to be more than a dozen Jean, right? Did this guy rob the Dragon King's palace or something? No, this guy must be bluffing. I'd like to see just how much your so-called a lot really is. Not bothering to keep eating, Shu Yiting walked in the direction Tang Ming had pointed. As she walked, her eyes widened more and more. I must be dreaming. With those thin arms and legs of his, how on earth did he do this? This is at least twice as much as what we just ate. Even if the individual pieces were a bit smaller, there were just too many of them, piled together densely. The shock they gave Shu Yiting was even greater than when she had just seen the seafood feast. All right, this time you win. I didn't expect our luck to be so good this time, getting assigned to an island with such abundant resources. Although she really didn't want to admit it, the facts were right in front of her. So Shu Yiting had no choice but to praise him a little. Don't think that saying a couple of nice words means you don't have to work. Hurry up and finish eating, clean everything up. I'm still waiting to go to sleep. After saying that, Tang Ming stopped paying attention to Shu Yiting, lay down, and opened the system panel again. The gourmet points had gone over 1,000. Why save them for the new year? When he opened the shop, there wasn't really much need to browse. The cheapest items started at 1,000, so there weren't many options to choose from. Beginner hunting, price, 1,000 food points. Beginner diving, price, 1,000 food points. Beginner climbing, price, 1,000 food points. Looking through the whole row, every one of them seemed quite useful, and he wanted to learn every one of them. Unfortunately, he was short on funds right now, and Tang Ming's gaze lingered for a long time. In the end, he fixed his eyes on an option that wasn't a skill. Beginner physical enhancement, price, 1,300 food points. Develop the body's potential, improve cell activity, and comprehensively enhance physical fitness. Compared with skills, his weakling physique was probably what needed strengthening the most right now. Otherwise, if he couldn't even lift a cast iron wok weighing around 10 Jean, what kind of chef would that make him? At his peak in his previous life, Tang Ming had trained to the point where he could flip a cast iron wok weighing over 40 Jean with one hand. It's you. Without overthinking it, Tang Ming directly clicked the learn button. Anyway, barring any surprises, he would have to learn all the skills in here sooner or later. Once his body became stronger, would he still have to worry about not being able to find food to eat? The next moment, Tang Ming suddenly felt a churning in his stomach. Streams of warmth began flowing toward his limbs. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Gurgle, gurgle. 5 minutes later, Tang Ming was astonished to find that his previously bloated belly had flattened again. And although he had been stuffed, he actually started to feel a little hungry again. Is it really that scientific? Food converting into energy? After a brief thought, Tang Ming guessed the basis of this physical enhancement, which was not strengthening out of thin air. What pained him even more was that as time passed, an intense hunger struck. No, I need to find something to eat. With green light practically shining from his eyes, Tang Ming immediately turned his gaze toward Shu Yiting, who was still enjoying the food. This girl had actually taken advantage of his inattention to secretly stash some shellfish on the palm leaves behind her. So now she's getting ready to hide food for herself? This is unacceptable. She dares keep a private stash before we've even gotten our marriage certificate. She must be taught a lesson. Time to assert the husband's authority.